Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And before anything else, first and foremost, thank you so much for helping hit 15k subs. We had 15k yesterday or today. I think it might have even been this morning, and it's absolutely insane. That it's tremendously appreciated. I've said this before. I will say this again. It is not taken lightly. I'll probably do some sort of video next week. Generally, when I hit some sort of milestone, I try to do a video talking about the channel direction, things, my general, usually just me being angsty about things I've learned the past month, things that I'm trying to trend towards, different questions or challenges or struggles I'm balancing or whatnot. Like the last one I did is why I started doing reviews specifically on Saturday, because I had that conversation. If there's anything you want me to talk about, any questions about the channel, any of that kind of stuff, well, first of all, you can always ask them in a Q&A, a live Q&A. Other than that, put them in the comments down below, and I'll try to touch upon any topics that I think are interesting. I usually just I don't know, this whole process for me is learning together, and so generally your feedback is part of that. I appreciate it. And speaking of milestones, we currently, if you check out Board Games in a Minute, I'll link to her down below. I talk about her a lot. I stalk her a lot. Board Games in a Minute is currently at 906 subscribers. Speaking of milestones, if you can get her over 1,000 to get 1K, that would be tremendously appreciated. First of all, her content is awesome. There's a reason I promote it whenever I can. And secondly is, as a content creator, there is a specific milestone of 1,000 subs on YouTube that is meaningful. That is when you can start getting monetized. And while the monetization is not a ton, it's this nice little mental snap of, oh, look, I'm getting a few bucks here and there. Oh, look, it's something extra's coming out of it. It's a mental jump that is tremendously satisfying, tremendously rewarding. If you can get her over 1,000 subs, that would be awesome. Truly appreciate it. And speaking of which, Sarah, I told you I would do this before. I told you I would do this once before, but I am predicting that this video is going to be an hour long. Not an hour and 1 minute, not 59 minutes. I'm aiming for an hour, okay? Just putting that out there. We'll see how it actually plays out, but I'm aiming for an hour. Right about now, half of you just pause the video and check the timestamps, but either way, well, not timestamps, the video length, that's my call, 1 hour. Let's see if we can do that exactly, because there's a lot to cover here, which brings me to the fact that one of the things I want to talk about is I'm adding 2 new things to this video, both the result of viewer suggestions. And if you have any feedback on them, that would be tremendously appreciated. And the first is going to be, before I get into all the videos, before I get into all the Kickstarters, I'm going to give you my a kind of updated final picks of the week that I recommend specifically for Kickstarters ending in the next 7 days. That I, after all the stretch goals and the updates and all this, just a quick, hey, I've talked about this in the past, but these 2 Kickstarters are my picks of the week that are ending this next week. Kind of to consolidate an update from stretch goals. And then secondly, at the end of the video, I'll be adding just a few minutes talking about upcoming heavy hitter Kickstarters. So 2 new things. If you like those additions, let me know. If you don't, let me know. And the reason I say if you don't is because these videos keep creeping upwards. I think it's just the season. I think the season isn't crazy busy, but at the moment we've been hitting 40-minute videos every single week, and this one I'm calling for an hour, and so it's getting out of hand. I have no problem doing that if you're getting value out of that hour of time. But if you're actually being turned off because it's too long and you're not watching it, then I'll cut things out. It's always a balance of trying to give you as much information as possible to be as beneficial to you as possible, while also not overwhelming you with an hour-long video that you're not watching. And so before we get into anything else, again, I told you, long video, we have 2 giveaways that we have to do that I have not done yet. One is for last week's video, which I'm going to do right now. This is last week's video over here, 253 comments. We're only doing the comment where not include comment replies, filter duplicate names, number of winners, start raffle. This is for the set of Blinks. So over here, we're going to pick a winner, the set of Blinks. Don't forget to check out the Blinks Kickstarter. I'll link down below. And we have BB. Oh, hey, BB, how's it going? Okay, do you see the possibilities of Blinks being used for magic tricks? I answered that not really. I mean, as soon as you introduce technology, it suddenly stops being, interesting, because it's just tech at that point. You can do magic tricks when people don't realize it's tech, but if they know it's tech, then that's kind of just not really that much of a magic trick anymore, is it? In any case, BB, reach out to me in the, alex@boardgameco.com, shoot me an email, and we'll get you hooked up with a set of Blinks. Enjoy. Secondly, from there, we have another video, which is for the Storm Sunder set of minis, which I talked about and then completely forgot to actually give away. So we're going to get YouTube comments, 169 over here. We're going to start raffle and pick winners. And we have Demented Penguin X backing all in because of your video, lol. Well, Demented Penguin X, not only have you backed all in, and thanks for doing that, by the way. I don't know why I said thank you. It's not my money. I don't get paid for that. But in any case, you now have a set of Storm Thunder minis coming your way. Shoot me an email, alex@boardgameco.com. And with that, let's jump into the picks of the week. Once again, these are Kickstarters that are ending in the next 7 days that I think are worth backing. And for this week, we just have one, which is Darkest Dungeon. And to be specific, when I say worth backing and just one, I don't necessarily mean nothing is worth backing. You can watch all my videos. I'm specifically picking the highlights, the things that I think are really worth paying attention to, because it's not like, oh, hey, it's a safe back. Rather, this is a good back. You know, jump in on that if you're interested. It's a good back. And this week's pick is going to be Darkest Dungeon, and I'm also going to do a brief update of the game, but effectively Darkest Dungeon, despite the fact that I am not backing it, despite the fact that I have no interest in it, no interest might be a bit harsh, I'm interested, but I don't think it's a game for me, I should really say. Nonetheless, this is one that will almost certainly hold its value and then some. This is one where, especially if you got that exclusive early bird as well, that's going to help. You could buy it yourself if you didn't get it, you know, but still worth giving a shot, worth checking out. They have, at this point, they have a ton of stuff coming, and they do have an all-in pledge coming. They haven't actually announced it yet, but they did put it in the FAQ that there is an all-in pledge that will be coming, so keep your eye out for that. But we currently have the $100 core set. We have $150, gets you the core set and the Crimson Court expansion. And then from there, we had more expansions for $50 each. We had, let's go see if we can scroll down to them. They've currently released 3 more expansions, so you're currently looking at $250. No, I can't have the math wrong. $300. You're currently looking at $300 before the all-in. We have the Wield for $50. It's going to be 26 miniatures and other content. You know, check out these out. Look at this cannon, look at this stew and whatnot. Lots of fun miniatures, very Darkest Dungeon-like. For $50 more, we have the Warrens. 26 monster miniatures, which is, again, this is going to be standard for all the expansions. So it's not 26 monster miniatures and 2 heroes. And then we have, again, these little lantern guys, you know, this little horse thingy, this gigantic guy with the sword who's just taking over the page. We got a ton of stuff there. For $50, we have the Cove expansion. This was the first one released. And again, more stuff. So again, it's going to be 26 and 29 for this one and 2 heroes, so more miniatures. And just take a look at this. And by the way, so in general, something I've talked about in the past is the expansion content is always going to have a lower ratio of cost to components, to miniatures and all that. And that's because those initial costs of developing, of building it, of getting the miniature sculpts, because people don't buy the expansion as much as they did buy the base game, you have to distribute that cost over fewer copies, which means generally a higher price point for what you're getting compared to the base pledge. That being said, all things considered, when comparing this to a Command Kickstarter, and you know how much I like those, nonetheless, this is actually, I would argue, a better value in terms of the components alone. Command add-ons don't give you 30 minis for $50. Command base games give you a ton of value. Command add-ons tend to be a good value, but not as good as these. So overall, Darkest Dungeon is my pick of the week in case you are interested in it. Tons and tons and tons of content for this game. And I know I give Mythic Games a hard time but their games not being for me. But check out my Super Fantasy Brawl review. I will link to it down below. I put that one up Saturday, and man, I love that game. So Mythic Games, I am back in your corner. I'm still going to give you a hard time. That's just what I do, but I am back in your corner. I want more content. Super Fantasy Brawl is amazing. In any case, moving on from there, that's my pick for the week, which means we start with the cancellations. There's only one this week, but Asking for Trobils and Expansions, unfortunately, is canceled. This is by Breaking Games, who have Dwellings of Eldervale, the other series, Rise of Tribes. Dwellings of Eldervale I have on the way. Super excited about it. I don't know if it's actually on the way, but super excited about it. Asking for Trobils and Expansions, it seems there wasn't really a lot of knowledge about this being out there. The campaign didn't really fund in the first week or so. They could have funded if they kept it going, but they felt it deserved more, which is a typical thing when campaigns are limping along, and they basically canceled, and they're going to be relaunching it, hopefully with more buzz. And I am on the same page there. I did not realize this campaign was coming out at all, except for the fact that I have to follow these things, but I didn't really see much in the way of buzz for this campaign, and so we'll see. Hopefully it comes out. I've never actually played Asking for Trobils. It always looked interesting, but also never pulled me in enough. But I don't know, the art looks engaging, the game looks interesting. I've never actually looked into it enough to know more than that, but keep an eye on this. If you are interested, it will be back, it will fund, no question there. It's just about getting a better starting point, a better campaign, better everything for the backers. Next up, we have Shadow Network, a game about spies. So this is the section where we cover 3 or 4 campaigns that are currently not funding, and you can check them out. Go jump, take a look, see if they're for you, all that. Shadow Network, I put up a full review this past Saturday. I also talked about it last campaign. Overall, this was a very solid game. I played it a few times, really enjoyed the puzzle it was presenting. At the end of the day, it's not a game for me just because the theme isn't for me, and there was less player interaction than I would like, but I really do think it's a solid game. If you like, I compared it to Pipeline to a certain degree. If you like Pipeline, which is a well-rated game, to me, I would rather play Shadow Network than Pipeline. It very much has that thinky heaviness going on of turning this into that, presenting a puzzle combined with worker placement. Had a lot of similarities to Pipeline in terms of the puzzle being presented. I personally prefer Shadow Network, but I think they are both solid games that just aren't for me. But check it out on Kickstarter. It is almost certain, I want to say it's going to fund, but it's definitely going to be close. 21,000 out of 25,000 with basically a day to go. It's going to be close. Your support does matter. And check out the updates. I know they added a bunch of stuff, so it may well be one worth paying attention to, checking out all that. Next up, we have B Movies from Colossal Games. B Movies is a party game. It reminds me very much of Shmovie. If you've ever heard of or played Shmovie, it reminds me of that. Keep in mind, this is a surface level deep dive, so surface level deep dive, that's a new thing. Surface level deep dives aren't a thing. It's either surface level or it's a deep dive. In any case, this is a surface level cursory overview of the campaign and the page, but it looks like it's a party game based around the premise of presenting a movie theme, a movie plot, and pitching it and figuring out how it works. It seems to have elements in common with that game Shmovie I said, which is where you kind of pitch a movie to a degree, and so it does seem interesting. It looks fun, it looks whatever. Ultimately, it's a party game. Check it out. See if this is your style of game. There's lots of games in this genre of kind of trying to pitch things to the audience. You know, which superhero is going to beat which superhero, which movie, whatever it is. There's a lot of options here, but take a look. This is by Colossal Games. They put up pretty solid stuff, and this is worth taking a look at. Next up, we have Here Be Dragons Into the Unknown. I talked about this briefly last week. Ultimately, my entire, feedback of this campaign is watch this video. It's 2.5, 3 minutes, and it will very quickly tell you whether this is a game that you are interested in. From there, you can look further, but for me, I'm interested. I'm just waiting for it to fund to see whether I want to look further. Hopefully, it will fund. We have 9 days left with 10,000 out of 14,000. It's also going to be close, but it looks cool. The art does not pull me in. The gameplay style does. When I showed my wife the trailer, I showed her the video. I was like, oh, look, this looks interesting. And she got 30 seconds in. She's like, why haven't you backed this yet? And I was like, because I wait till see if how they're doing and whatnot. And I still look at the value. I still look at those things. But I can easily see myself making an exception on the value proposition on this one. I haven't overly looked into it. I just want to see where it goes, and then I will do more research into it. Next up, and lastly in the not backing category, I think lastly, we'll see if I remember correctly, is the King's Armory, a tower defense board game, and this one I'm pretty sure will back. It's 26 days to go, and it's more than half funded, with a reasonably high funding goal. This is a very realistic funding goal if there ever was one, $124,000 for a game that is not even it is miniatures, but it's not heavy hardcore miniatures. And the King's Armory is a game that already exists. You can check it out on Board Game Geek, check out the ratings. It generally has a lot of people who like the game, while also not being the best and all and whatever. It's not like an 8.0 on Board Game Geek. It is well rated, it's well liked. It is tower defense, which is a genre that appeals to me. For me, the art and miniatures don't personally pull me in, but the genre does. So I'm kind of also on the same page. I plan on looking into it further, depending on how it is or isn't funding, and seeing how things play out. But take a look. Lots of stuff, lots of content for this game, and like I said, it's an iteration of an already existing system, which is generally a good thing. There's a lot of people who have reviewed this over the years. I know one of my friends, in fact, who told me to play Besieged, which ended up being a game I really liked, has recommended this game, so I should keep an eye on it, and I plan on keeping an eye on it, but we'll see how it actually goes in terms of the funding. And I think Nope, one more. I was wrong. One more in the not yet funding category, which is the Warp. The Warp has 28 days to go, 22,000. This almost certainly will fund. Take a look at this one. This one is a 4X game, and more importantly, if you already had looked at this one and you kind of passed on, take a look at the updates. I know they've made some changes in terms of the content, in terms of Kickstarter exclusive, in terms of trying to better present what's going on here. I have seen feedback from people who've played the game saying it's amazing, it's incredible, it's awesome, they're totally all in. So just worth knowing that. I have not overly looked into it myself, and a surface level, it looks interesting, but also on a surface level, it looks like many other games that also are interesting. Eclipse looks interesting. Twilight Imperium looks interesting. So something about this one has to stand out. Now, the starting point is I believe they're selling this one as something that will not be as long. It will not be overwhelmingly long. You'll play it in like maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, as opposed to, I don't even know if 3, I'm just making up numbers, but it is shorter than Twilight Imperium, so it's a very different experience. Again, surface level, it looks interesting. I just don't do a deep dive until I actually see whether the campaign is funding. If you look at the reviews, there seems to be some solid testimonials. Hungry Gamer put out a review. His stuff's always great. Nothing against the other content creators here. But yeah, take a look at this one. It is fairly expensive as of right now, but keep an eye on it. I know they're also look at the update. Look at the most recent update. I know they're messing with things in terms of trying to bring down prices and or give credits on shipping or things like that. I just know that he's been very active in the Facebook pages that I am part of in terms of trying to figure out how to make a better package, a better presentation for people to back this game. Which brings us to the first campaign we are actually talking about, which means I will take my cursory and well-earned drink of water 15 minutes into this video. Excellent. Ready to go. Dice Command, a semi-abstract tactical wargame for 2 to 4 players with dice action selection and engine building. So Dice Command is basically 2 days to go by the time you're watching this. 10,000, so it's already funded, 286 backers. This one very much falls into the category. Well, before we go to that, let's talk about the game. The game itself is kind of like a dice placement game in which your 2 to 4 players are abstracting a war situation. It does look interesting. These style of games to me generally look interesting. Some of them end up being deep enough and interesting enough that I keep them. Others tend to be ones that I enjoy the play and move on from. So like, for instance, Fantastic Factories is a good example of one that many people love. I know that. I'm aware. For myself, I liked it, enjoyed my play, and was ready to move on from it. In terms of Dice Command, it definitely looks interesting. I like the theme. I like the art, the style, the dice, the overall cursory view of it does look interesting. My biggest problem with it personally, not biggest problem, is this is going to fall in that category if it's one that you are unlikely to see your money back on. To be clear, it's not necessarily a bad back. There's always two divisions to this category. Is this the best price you can get, and how well will it do in the secondary market? So is this the best price you can get? Very possibly yes. With only 286 backers, it doesn't have a huge audience. I don't know if this will hit retail. I don't know how commonly available this will be. Even the used copies that hit whatever Board Game Geek Marketplace or whoever, there's not going to be a ton of them available. And most people who get games do not actually resell them. So there's, from those 286, maybe 20% are willing to resell, and half of them like them. So congratulations, there's 14 copies available for sale and trade. So it's not going to be hugely available. At the same time, if you do get this and you don't like it, you're probably not getting your money back either. Especially, this is coming in at $34 plus $12 shipping to the US. So it's around $46 for a game in this, components and lightness and category. It's not the best price compared to typical games in that space, but this does very much fall in the category of this is your best opportunity to get it. Go ahead, if you're interested, check it out, support the creator. It's one of those ones. It's not a good back, but also not a hey, you're gonna find this at retail for half the price later. So that's where Dice Command ends up. From there we have Yedo. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce this word. Is it Yedo? Yedo? Someone tell me in the comments down below how to pronounce this word. Deluxe Master Set and reprint. So this is one that is this is intriguing. So first of all, I have a copy on the way. I do plan, no guarantees, I do plan on putting out a review once I've played it a few times, gotten a few plays under my belt. It will not be before this Kickstarter ends, and it may not even be before the Pledge Manager goes. And speaking of Pledge Manager, this one has a $10 to enter the Pledge Manager, so that is a bit of a price there to pay in terms of commitment or whatnot. But I do, basically, and the reason I have it, I don't have it coming from the company, I have it coming because I like the look of the game. It's worker placement, it's well rated, and I'm interested. Speaking of the rating, that 8.4 on Board Game Geek, take it with a grain of salt. The original Yedo is 7.6 or something like that, which is still good, by the way, but this is the Deluxe Master Set, which means you inherently have a subset of people who already like the game who are rating it. Whenever you're paying attention to the ratings of a game, ignore the Master Set or Deluxe version or any of those, because those have a subset of people who already like the game who are now basically biasing your ratings as they go through it in terms of how the game is. And so that's basically, don't get me wrong, again, still well rated. It was well rated enough that I jumped on in it. I wanted to get a copy. So I have a copy of the Master Set coming, and I plan on checking that out. This is basically a worker placement game. I've seen it compared very often to Lords of Waterdeep in terms of the style of game, but possibly a step up strategically from Lords of Waterdeep. And this is one where there's two things going on. So this is it's giving you an expansion and updated cards and things like that, as well as just a reprint. So both of those. In terms of the expansion or updated cards, for $12 you can get the Shonen Pledge. That comes with the Unpleasant Surprise expansion. It's going to be $15 worldwide, $12 and free worldwide shipping. So it's basically $12 to get anything. What they're doing there is they're giving you updated components from the base game, from the original Master Set that had some small issues. None of those have inhibited anyone from enjoying their copy, but they are still mistakes or whatnot. And then they're bundling it with an expansion so that when you pay $12, you're not paying $12 to get corrected components, which is smart of them. I approve of that. It's a good tactic, kind of leaves most people happy. Of course, you're going to have some people who are like, I just want those cards myself. I don't care for the expansion. You're never, ever able to make everyone happy. It's constantly a choice between how you balance trying to make the most people happy and balancing understanding this and understanding that. It is a challenge, and I respect what they did here in terms of that. $12 is not a ton, plus you get expansion components, which they haven't overly talked about. They just called it an unpleasant surprise, parentheses, pleasant surprise. So it's maybe the pleasant part is the expansion and the unpleasant part is when you're paying for upgraded components. Either way, they haven't overly announced what's going on in that expansion yet, but keep an eye on that, check that out. In terms of the actual game itself, in terms of backing the game, the $75 Geisha pledge, and we have $95 for the Daimyo pledge, and these are Daimyo pledge is going to give you the Great Wealth metal coin set, which is basically a set of metal coins. Just tons and tons of stuff here. This is the base game of Yedo, plus a whole bunch of modules, plus deluxified tokens, a lot of good stuff. In terms of value, it's a pretty easy one, because look at the last Kickstarter, and overall, the short answer is you're safe here. This is one where it's not really available in retail, so you're not going to be finding this down the road for $30 cheaper in whatever store. So this is the best price to get it. And in terms of selling it on the secondhand market, it seems like so far everyone has been selling their other copy, or I say most people. There are always some who sell for less. Most people on average have been selling it for above what they paid for the game, not by a huge margin, but they're covering their pledge plus shipping fairly reasonably. So you're pretty safe on this one. I do recommend checking it out if you're interested. Go ahead and back it if you're interested, and then obviously sell it if it's not the right game for you, or trade it, or who knows what. I actually traded for mine. I traded a different game. I traded Lisboa for Yedo Deluxe Master Set. So hey, cool. We'll see how that plays out. In any case, that is basically everything Yedo. Was there a tabletop simulator of this one? I don't remember. There were a few games in today's list that have a tabletop. Oh, I want to talk about this. I remember that. Testimonials. So testimonials, they actually did testimonials fairly well here. They have a combination of testimonials from reviewers and then from general Board Game Geek ratings. Good note here, I never recommend Board Game Geek ratings on their own because it's easy to find a handful of select ratings from a large subset of people. But when you combine those and you mix those with, Rado, Dice Tower, Game Boy Geek, then it's much better. Then you end up having a full-fledged, and I like seeing the comments from quote-unquote regular people. I take it with a grain of salt because, of course, you selected that comment from a giant pool of people, but I just like seeing what people said and how they did it. Past that, anything else? They also had one more expansion. So they have the Unpleasant Surprise expansion, which you can get that. They have the $45 to get just to complete a different game, Toan to see you. And then we have $45 for the Sensei mat set. This is going to come with the Neophene mats. $25 for the Great Wealth set. This is included in the Daimyo pledge. And $12 for the Advisor Deluxe set, which is a set of wooden annexes, 16 custom wooden printed annexes used in place of the regular cardboard ones. Past that, the stretch goals, there are no stretch goals because this was already all taken care of in terms of they basically did this campaign. This is a reprint of all the stretch goals that were unlocked in that last campaign. And that is everything for Yedo. Next up, we have Nova Aetas Renaissance. So, and pause for a second. Which apparently, since I've last seen this page, has added this over here, which I didn't even notice when I was prepping for all the research today. So, Nova Aetas Renaissance, a few things to cover, some updates for my dedicated. I did a full dedicated video on this one. The very short version of this one is I simultaneously believe that it will hold its value, while also acknowledging that Ludus Magnus Studio has had problems in the past in terms of charging extra shipping after the fact. I know that they have a bunch of credits and things like that, so I know if you paid extra, if you look at the FAQ, if you paid extra for Black Rose War shipping, they are compensating you in some way in this campaign, so take a look at that. But past that, I mean, they hired a new project manager. I'm aware of that. I mentioned this last video as well, and they are taking steps to hopefully improving or avoiding these types of situations in the past. It's a case of a company growing pretty quickly, then dealing with split-way shipping, dealing with a pandemic, all those things, meaning nothing's really changed from last video. I am simultaneously immensely understanding and sympathetic to Ludus Magnus Studios, while also acknowledging for you guys that understand that there is a risk whenever a company has passed on an additional expense to you that wasn't announced. Understand that that's a risk factor. Do I think it'll happen here? I do not. They're doing one-wave shipping, and I just imagine that is not a bridge they want to go down. It just won't work well for them long term if they do that. So I think you're safe here, but it's worth noting. Past that, in terms of the Mandalorian, which I talked about, not the Mandalorian, the Mediccio. In terms of the Mediccio, which I talked about last time, which is this day one or the early bird that they had in the campaign and available as an optional buy. Let me see if I can find it here. But the Mediccio is an homage to people you may or may not recognize. If I can actually find it here. Where is it? Jeez. So the Mediccio, it's somewhere. Here we go. The Mediccio. So the Mediccio is an homage to a character you may or may not recognize. And I commented about the fact that while I am supremely interested in this, just keep in mind, it may or may not end up being this down the road. And what I mean by that is, and first of all, to be clear, because one person in the comments took it the wrong way, I'm very happy for Ludus Magnus Studios. This is not a critique. I think this is cool, and I want this on my table. At the same time, I know that Zombicide Invader had an issue with copyright claims against a Han Solo-inspired character, so just keep in mind, things can change, and they can potentially change after the Kickstarter. At the same time, it's worth noting, which I didn't last time, which is why I'm doing this update, it's worth noting someone else pointed out multiple examples from other games, including Star Wars inspired characters, that have been totally fine. So, which is worth noting, meaning many things I point out something that was not totally fine, and someone else pointed out a whole bunch of other campaigns that were totally fine, so take that into account. Hopefully this one is fine, because, well, I want to eventually be able to get my hands on one of these, because I think it's cool. Past that, take a look at the campaign. They have a lot of stuff. They have an upgrade kit. I believe if you back their original campaign, you don't need that upgrade kit. You don't need it. I believe they're giving it to you for free. Past that, they have the Nova Aetas Renaissance Hyperion, which is good for Black Rose Wars and Nova Aetas. Lots of cool content here. And then lastly, there was one more I wanted to cover here. Lastly, they have this one over here. This one. They have the Under Siege expansion, which they released, which is going to be this giant freaking scenery bridge thingy, which looks immensely cool. Like I said, Nova Aetas ultimately looks cool. I currently have a pledge. I will probably not be backing this one just because I have too many campaign games on the way, and so I look for excuses not to back things, and this one looks interesting, but also not. At the same time, Ludus Magnus Studios has $723,000 raised, 5,246 backers. This one may well cross $1 million, and hopefully for them it does, and, well, lots of cool miniatures. I'm jealous of all the stuff. I probably, as of now, am not getting it, but maybe I'll change my mind, because sometimes I make bad decisions. From there, we have Freedom 5, a Sentinels Comics board game. So this is the first of one that, there's actually a few Kickstarters that are ending roughly in the November 13th to November 20th range. And on all of those, I think there's like 5 of them. There's Freedom 5, there's Townsfolk Tussle, there's 3 others that I can't recall offhand, Dire Alliance, and some other ones. And I plan on doing a full dedicated video just to those 5 with all the updates before the end, Endless Winter, I think. So I plan on going through things by the end of those campaigns. For right now, I'm just going to cover Freedom 5 as a quick update as opposed to the full in-depth everything update. And so Freedom 5 over here, basically the reason I'm covering it today is because they have a full page update to this campaign. If you look through the page over here, they completely updated the page here. The amount of content they have added since I did a review of this, I did a Should You Back It, the amount of content they have added to this game is insane so far. They have updated all the standees, the villain standees to meeples. So basically now it's not meeples, to miniatures. So now it's miniatures for the villains, the heroes, and the mastermind. It's meeples for all the henchmen, but custom meeples over here. They have added some incredibly cool miniatures. We have Citizen Dawn here with a whole campaign around her. We have my coolest miniature, by far the coolest miniature. We have the Chrono Ranger. Look at this guy. This is one of their pre-painted miniatures. Now, obviously, take it with a grain of salt until it's in your hands, because pre-painted can mean anything. But I don't know what the final copy is going to look like, but this guy looks boss. I want this on my table moving around. I'm so I'm so interested in the Chrono Ranger. They have a bunch of other things. They've announced the giant, who's the giant one with the eye, Cybertron or Omnitron, I think Omnitron is the one. They have that one. They have this the Guys. They have Guys, which is a Deadpool-like hero or whatnot, or hero. And they have some updates. Like, take a look at the update over here. Again, I'll do a full update, a full deep dive in the terms of that dedicated video roughly in the last week of the campaign. But look over here, they have Omnitron, which is going to be ridiculously huge. 5 inches tall mini and side story scenario book. This is going to be a huge thing over here. Over here, we have Guys with all his miniatures. Nope, Guys was in yesterday's update apparently. So if we go to yesterday's update, we have Guys somewhere here. Over here. Look at this. Here's Guys. Look at him, just sitting on that bomb, just waiting for the world to destroy. Lots of character over here. All his cards are very breaking the fourth wall. Seriously, I'm invincible. Each time well, that's just, not breaking the fourth wall there. But we have breaking the fourth wall. Total beef cape. I can do that too. This is just a hilarious character. Either way, I want Guys. I want a lot of stuff in this campaign. But overall, this game, it's interesting. This game, I put out a review of it. Overall, my opinion is I like the game. I'm intrigued by the game. I have some concerns about the overall fiddliness, but the sheer amount of goodness on this page is I can't wait to get my copy. I'm interested in Freedom 5. Let's put it that way. Next up from there, for Freedom 5, in case you got 4,000 cards in Freedom 5 and you need to sleeve them, we now have Sleeve Kings. Sleeve Kings, which I am a huge fan of Sleeve Kings. I hype them every opportunity I have it. Every time I get an opportunity, I basically recommend Sleeve Kings. Whenever I see a Kickstarter campaign offering your overpriced sleeves, I'm like, hey, you can get those, or you can get Sleeve Kings, which I highly recommend. Sleeve Kings is basically, it's the prime, mix of quality and price, meaning basically normal sleeves, let's say Mayday penny sleeves, are 40 microns, I think it's microns, 40 microns thick. Yeah, here we go, microns. 40 microns thick. Deluxe sleeves are generally in the range of 80 to 100 microns thick, which is very premium, but also you tend to have problems with inserts and fitting them anywhere. These at 60 microns over here, at 60 microns for Sleeve Kings, these end up being a almost perfect combination of the two. They give you that premium feel in terms of actually feeling like not just penny sleeves and just shaking all over the place. They protect your cards, they feel premium, and they're priced the same as penny sleeves. So the price is incredible, the quality is very solid, they fit in your, they fit into your inserts and everything, not all inserts, they fit into your box easier than 100 micron sleeves, and I recommend Sleeve Kings a lot, all the time. They have a whole, where's the section over here? They had a section here on testimonials, and there's nothing for me, and I want a testimonial for me because I love these sleeves. I recommend them all the time. There's no testimonial section. Either way, Sleeve Kings, if you want a testimonial from me, reach out. I will happily stamp something on your page. I love your sleeves. It's basically all I use, and I don't see myself switching away from Sleeve Kings anytime soon. And by the way, their Kickstarter, you can get them not Kickstarter. Their Kickstarter tends to be their best prices to get them. This is their fourth Kickstarter by now. You can probably keep an eye. There'll probably be a fifth one. They tend to be their best prices and opportunities to get these sleeves. Next up, we have Kokopelli, and I think it's drink of water time again. Whew. So, Kokopelli by Stefan Feld and Queen Games. So Queen Games, oh my gosh, if there's a company that probably hates me, it's Queen Games, because historically, I have not been a fan of their Kickstarters. I like them as a company. I like their games. Well, I should say I like their games. I like their games. I have no problem with them as a company. Generally, I just find their Kickstarters to be overpriced and not giving you a good value on a fairly consistent basis. And that includes anything from ridiculously overpricing just retail availability games to offering overpriced Kickstarter versions that don't give you enough content to really call it worth it or whatnot. By all means, don't get me wrong. If you want to back it, back it. I mean, this game is doing well. 72,000 with 1,000 backers. That's not being done poorly at all. It's not doing badly. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not doing badly. But overall, Kokopelli is an interesting game. This is available to play online, so if you're interested in it, give it a shot, check it out. This will be coming to retail. What you're checking out here is the Kickstarter version. The Kickstarter version basically includes the base game and the expansion. In addition, it gives you game trays, and it gives you some upgraded components, primarily, I believe, upgraded standees. That is primarily what you're getting for Kickstarter. You're getting, if you look over here, I believe, we do plan on releasing, but why back now? We do plan to release Kokopelli. By pledging for the campaign, you will receive both a special bundle price, be the first to receive it, and receive the acrylic Kokopelli standees, which will not be included in future printings. They didn't mention the game trays here, which makes me wonder. I mean, I assume the game trays aren't in the retail version, but I'm not certain. But ultimately, this is one where you're basically paying $65 to get the base game of the base game plus expansion of Kokopelli. Is going to be $65 plus like another $15 shipping. So you're paying like $80 to get a base game and expansion of a game that you'll probably be able to get down the road for closer to $40. So the game trays insert might make it worth it. It was not clear to me whether that game trays insert is exclusive or not. And then the acrylic standees is up to you. It may add value, meaning what they're doing here is something they've done in the past several campaigns, which is they're adding just enough that there could well be a reason to back this campaign. If you're interested in this game, if you played it, if you liked it, if you want those game trays, if you want those acrylic standees, then by all means, back the game. As far as whether I think it will hold this value, again, this is the Kickstarter version. Comparing it to retail, the retail certainly will not. The retail will be significantly cheaper to get your hands on. Comparing it to the extras here, like if you don't like it, can you sell this game yourself and get your money back? I think not. I think many of their recent Kickstarter games that have had slight upgrades have not done well in the secondhand market, which means you can probably get it cheaper on the secondhand market than you can in the Kickstarter, and obviously by extension, it means you can't sell your copy for what you paid for it. So overall, I don't think it's a safe back. I think you can probably get it down safe as, I don't think it's a great back. I think you can probably get it cheaper, either secondhand or just get the regular retail edition of Kokopelli. And then from there we have Don't Get Got. Secret missions with Shut Up and Sit Down. So Don't Get Got is an interesting party game, one that I am simultaneously intrigued by and also have not bitten the bullet on because I just don't see it playing out well in my group. But effectively this is a game where you get assigned like a secret mission. You get these little wallet full of secret missions where you have to get someone. You have to somehow capture them in some sort of something, get them to say a phrase, ask you a question, do a thing. And basically you can't get got, which means they can't say, wait a second, are you trying to got me, when you actually are in the middle of trying to get them. So you can't be caught that way. That'll be a fail, but otherwise you nail it, and whoever accomplishes more, I don't know all the rules, but whoever accomplishes more wins or something like that. But if the concept is hilarious, to me, I think it would just, and I'm probably wrong, it's well rated, people like it, but my hesitancy has always been, I'm always worried that it will just devolve into me obviously trying to get someone to do something that is frequently being asked, like, wait a second, are you trying to get me? Or, I don't know, I don't see it playing it out well, I assume I'm wrong. As far as the price, so basically Hilarious Party Game and Don't Get Got is going to be adding 120 cards plus Kickstarter stuff, so there's going to be more extras added. I think they're currently at 160 plus the 186, so they have 120 plus another 20 from a Kickstarter stretch goal plus another 20 from a Kickstarter stretch goal. There may be more stretch goals, we still have 13 days to go, and they have 186 of the original missions all wrapped together in one box that's going to cost you roughly $40 with shipping by the time you're done. Now in terms of your options here, you can buy the original edition for 186 missions on Amazon right now for $14. Or you can see how this one plays out, and this one is going to give you twice the content, possibly more, but at slightly twice the price. So my overall opinion of this one comes down to, if you have played Don't Get Got and you like the game and you don't own a copy, this seems to be a pretty good back. You'll get, almost twice the content, probably more than twice the content by the time the Kickstarter is done, for a little over twice the price. So I think it's worth it in terms of just having more stuff for a game like this. In terms of will you be able to sell it for what you paid for if you don't like it, I don't see it. There are some Kickstarter, I think 40 of those unlocks so far are Kickstarter exclusive, so it might be your only chance to get it, but I don't see these types of games, these party games tend to not have a huge secondhand market in terms of people hunting down those stretch goal options. I could be wrong, but Monica so far hasn't really had that level of stretch goals, level of aftermarket demand. Overall, I think it's a fine back. I think it's an okay back. I don't think, if you want the game, go ahead and get it, or just buy it on Amazon for $15, but get half the content. But either way, that's Don't Get Got. For myself, I haven't actually decided if I want to back this one, because I'm interested, but am I $40 interested in a game that I am hesitant whether it'll work for my group? In any case, that is Don't Get Got. Next up, we have Dire Alliance Horror. This is one of the games that I'll be including in my 5 games update sometime next week, sometime mid next week, I think. And this one so far is basically, I covered this in a full video. The very short version of all that is I've played the game, I like the game, I've played the duel mode, I have not played the raid mode, but I enjoyed what I played so far. It is by the designers of Undaunted War Chest and Undaunted Normandy plus War Chest. That's why I couldn't figure out the words. Undaunted Normandy plus War Chest is by those designers, also by the Sailors as well. To be frank, I see more of the impact and I've only played the dual mode, which is more from them, but I've seen more of the impact of War Chest and Undaunted Normandy, so I haven't really tried the raid mode, which will have more of the Sailors, design choices or design spins or whatever. But overall, I like the game a lot. I thought it was a solid game. I want to add it to my collection. I'll probably be getting rid of Undaunted Normandy. I think I'm keeping War Chest, but getting rid of Undaunted Normandy. In terms of the miniatures will almost certainly hold their value. While not as good a deal as Blacklist miniatures, meaning the original Blacklist Fantasy series, this one, the horror series, will still be a pretty good value, all things considered. I'm not commenting on the aftermarket value for miniatures because that's not something I deal with or know about. So I'm just commenting on the board game and the fact that the prices for the miniatures are good. Can you resell them if they're not for you? That's a different conversation. In terms of what you're getting here, they've had a ton of unlocks so far. They're going to continuously have more unlocks. They just added the Unstoppable Glob, which is one huge miniature with like different spots on the board. I don't know how that actually plays out in the board game itself, but color me intrigued. They also added some sort of expansion over here. They added something. Where's the add-on? Here we go, where you could use, if you have the fantasy series of miniatures, or I think even if you don't, you get these, but if you have it's a Desecrated Faction, which uses, I think it's from there. I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, that this is the one that uses miniatures from the fantasy series and or gives you tokens. So this gives you a full another faction using miniatures if you back the other series. And then we have Desecrated Minis pack for $25, which you can get if you didn't back the other series. So, they do give you that option as well. That's basically the update I have so far. They will continuously unlock more. It's actually very interesting. So this one actually has one more thing which I want to talk about, which is they have over here, if you look at the daily data on KickTrack, they had a very strong day 1, solid regular day 2, which is a huge drop, but it's normal. And then they've kind of been just like pedaling along since then, which is very interesting and kind of surprising a little bit, because if you look at the fantasy series, The Fantasy series, and the data here is wrong, it starts over here, they had 811 day 1, and then they continuously had solid streams of 100 plus, and then just by the time they got to mid-campaign, the sheer value of those stretch goals just kept making it an insanely good back that just kept on going higher and higher and higher. We had 4,827 backers on the second last day of the campaign, compared to 811 day 1. That is mind-boggling. This is another example of a Kickstarter curve that does not fit the normalcy at all, and that's because they just doubled down on how much value they gave you in that Kickstarter, and how much the miniatures they gave you. And so we will see. I wonder if this will see a similar trend. If as stretch goals continue to unlock, if as miniatures continue to unlock, you may see a similar trend to a degree. I say to a degree because at the end of the day, the horror miniatures as a line are going to be less popular than fantasy miniatures as a line, almost inherently. Just the number of people who will want horror compared to fantasy, it's going to be a smaller subset. But that's basically Blacklist miniatures. And this is I said in my full video, but this is a safe back. Feel free to jump in on this one. The amount of exclusives here they're giving you, it makes it more than worth it. In terms of if you want to wait for a dialed down retail version of Dire Alliance, that is also a choice, but they're giving you a lot of exclusive content here, and this one will hold its value. You will be able to sell it for more than you paid for it. And solid game, by the way. From there, we have Endless Winter Paleoamericans, and this is a game, you may know this, but I do like this game. And so Endless Winter Paleoamericans, this is a kind of big update, and this is another one that will be in my full update video next week. But this is one where they have basically, they've gone back and forth on a few things. They initially planned on having stretch goals, or not stretch goals, they initially planned on having exclusives or limited something that, then they kind of removed that, and they've kind of locked it in, which again, it seems like they have to figure out, I'm pretty sure they said in the update, but they have to figure out their partnerships that they had, which they didn't take into account just how many partnerships they had and how that affects things. But overall, they have now added to the page again, Kickstarter exclusives. This campaign contains Kickstarter exclusive limited components. Pledging now ensures you'll have the opportunity to get everything you want. So what does that mean? I did a full should you back it video on it that by now is mostly inaccurate. You can throw that out the window. But that video, basically what it comes down to is I said this is a great game. I think this game will hold its value, but I also don't think it's an amazing back. I think it's a good back. I think you'll be able to get the game at a reasonable price, and you'll get it sooner than other people. But, you know, if compared to retail, it's probably going to be roughly the same price. You're not really getting a deal to get this. I did note that we don't know how the whole exclusive and limited thing will play out. So technically I was right, maybe? I don't know. It all depends on the time and the information at the time. And so in terms of what they've since updated, they have basically changed the Canine Familiars module is Kickstarter limited. That means it's primarily on Kickstarter. I think, let me just read the update to make sure we have the actual information, which is over here, they have some things that are Kickstarter limited, will not be widely available. They'll be available for purchase at conventions, through direct sales, or via the BGG store. So in other words, not general distribution. Those things matter. Can you possibly hunt them down? Yes. Is it a hassle? Do you have to pay shipping in 3 different places? Possibly yes. So Kickstarter limited is, while not Kickstarter exclusive, still adds to that value. Going back to the campaign, so what do we have? Actually, just go back to the update. The update has everything there. So in the update, we have so far, we have the Canine Familiars module, the Ceremony Grounds module, the small, large playmats, and the resin upgraded components are all Kickstarter limited. In terms of exclusives, the washed minis, and by the way, I am so excited for this stretch goal. The washed minis, the minis need a wash because they're going with an ivory effect, which means it's very white, and that won't show you the detail. These things needed a wash. I was planning on just washing them myself when I got them, but I'm happy that they're doing it. It saves me the time and energy and hassle and possibly screwing it up. But anyways, they're doing a wash minis effect that will be Kickstarter exclusive, and then they have the carrying case option, which I think they're charging for. It wasn't really clear to me whether this is going to be a charge, but they're basically giving people the option of a temporary big box. The way they put it in the campaign is they hope to expand this down the road if it does well. Like basically think Everdell, more expansions, more whatever. And so they don't want to do a whole official big box now because then you'll have people complaining next time. Why do you have a big box? I just bought a big box, all that stuff. So they're trying to like have a happy medium between either a storage case or some sort of sleeve or some sort of option to basically give you the big box feel without the big box. I believe it will be at a price. They're going to try to get a price for it. I wasn't 100% clear whether it's a free add-on. And they recognize, I love what they said here. They recognize in this, you know, we're not going to be able to make everyone happy. Everyone has different goals. Everyone's going to want different things. Some people will say, no, I don't want the big box now. Some people will say, yes, I do want the big box now. It's always hard to make everyone happy, and they have to do the best they can, and I get that. Past that, their last update was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So basically, I gave them a hard, not just me, a lot of people in the comments, as well as myself, gave them a hard time about the fact that they had eraser caps on pens, which is a funny stretch goal. And I mean, again, I don't mind it because they had so much other stuff. I was just like, what are we doing here? Eraser caps on pens. And then they posted over here this update. When planning our campaign, we thought they were impossible. A pipe dream even. Thanks to your support, it has become a reality. In order to demonstrate the power of eraser caps, basically what I thought when I read this, what I thought they were going to do is explain why eraser caps was such a big deal, and then we just missed it and didn't understand it. And instead, they used the eraser caps to update that pledge level, and instead they literally use the eraser caps to erase the stretch goal, and then and I believe they still have them, by the way, it's not a stretch goal anymore, and then they replaced it with, if I can find the stretch goals, they replaced it with something else. They didn't just take it off. They could have just erased it and been funny, but instead they also gave you, I can't find the stretch goals here at all, here we go, instead they gave you the eraser idle board linen finish. So they basically substituted a stretch goal in. The level of engagement that has, the level of tongue-in-cheek, of working with the people who are complaining, of being funny, of not taking yourself too seriously. I am a huge fan of Fantasia games for a reason. The way they managed this campaign, the way they built up a community for 6 months before the Kickstarter, the way everything they've done has been a testament, an example of how someone should try to grow a company on Kickstarter. If you ever are trying to grow a company on Kickstarter, reach out to them and ask them for help. They have done everything right that I can possibly imagine. Well, not everything. I'm sure I can pick some stuff, but almost everything. Basically, I think the only thing they did wrong is they didn't anticipate how popular this would be and how they'd have to balance that whole stretch goal and Kickstarter exclusive and limited. That's the only thing they did wrong. So they're victims of being too popular and doing too well. But that's basically Endless Winter, and we'll cover it more in my update video, last week of the campaign. Townsfolk Tussle. I don't know if I had anything to cover here. I don't know. I put this up here. I feel like I have something to cover it. They unlocked game trays. Maybe I was just telling you they unlocked game trays. So if you look at the stretch goals over here, they unlock game trays. They have more art. I don't think I had anything significant to add about Townsfolk Tussle this week, but overall, check out Townsfolk Tussle. I did a review. I did a should you back it, and check out the game. It's on Tabletop Simulator. Feel free to check into it. I do recommend playing it with a bunch of people. I don't recommend it as a solo game, at least not yet. I know some people have enjoyed it solo, but do you want to go by, I guess, check it out yourself. Either way, that's my point there. Next up is Shogun no Katana. So this is one of those campaigns where I did not have this on my radar at all. I was not planning on backing it at all. I had no interest in this campaign or this game in the slightest, and now I'm heavily looking into backing it, and I do believe it'll hold its value. So Shogun no Katana is going to be a worker placement puzzle-y style game. In fact, it's going to be sort of similar to Shadow Network to a degree, the other campaign that I mentioned earlier, Shadow Network back at the beginning. And the difference to me is, well, first of all, I've played one, not the other, but more importantly, thematically, I am intrigued by Shogun. I mean, there's going to be similarities, and to be very clear, I have the same concern that I will get Shogun no Katana, I will play Shogun no Katana, and I will say, hey, that was good, but not enough interaction, too much thinkiness. So I have the concern, by all means. But thematically, I am more drawn in by this theme than the other one, so I'm interested in it. It is expensive. I do believe it'll hold its value. So this one is basically, this is by Postscriptum. They've had 2 other games to date. They've had Kepler 3042 and Wendaki. Both of those have had Kickstarter versions that held their value. They've had Kickstarter versions and retail versions. So if you're comparing it to the retail version, you can get this game cheaper down the road. 100%, if just wait, you can get it cheaper. Not that much cheaper, by the way. Even the retail versions are not particularly cheap, but you can get it cheaper. Their Kickstarter versions, on the other hand, come with extras, and those are more expensive. So you can check out the Kickstarter versions. This one has we have the Shogun no Katana base game, which comes with stretch goals. And then the deluxe edition, which comes with stretch goals, 96 metal coins, a numbered box sleeve, resource plastic holder, wandering character, so a whole bunch of extras. This is one where it basically feels like, someone gave an example in terms of, it feels like one of those puzzles where you slide things around. You're trying to fill up your shoguns and craft your swords, and you can pick a row. Over here, you can see this over, you can pick a row or a line, and then you shift them around and move them and drop them. And the more you have on your board, the more you can potentially get done, but the more you have on your board, the less room you have to manage your board. It seems like an interesting little puzzle that intrigues me, and I like the theme, I like the art. Their games historically have held their value. To be clear, not like, oh my gosh, you're gonna make money on this one, but practically speaking, if you look at their deluxe versions of their games, they have, at least for a while, done fairly well in terms of giving you your money back. This one is slightly different if you go for that full-on deluxe edition. The sheer cost of it, $104 plus shipping, is expensive, but they're also giving you a lot. They're giving you 96 metal coins alone, which is like a $35 value right there, and so that does add to it. So I still believe this one will hold its value, even at the Shogun no Katana Deluxe Edition pledge. And that basically is Shogun no Katana. Super interested in this one. Check out some reviews. Check out, Man vs. Meeple or whatnot, different rundowns. I am intrigued by this game and am probably backing it. We'll see. Next up, we have Sakura Arms, Duel Under Falling Cherry Blossoms. And this is another 2-player head-to-head dueling system along a little card line, very similar to Twisted Fables, very similar to Knockdown, which is funny that we've had 3 of these. I mean, one of my commenters pointed out that we've had 3 of these in basically 1 week, which is just overloading Kickstarter with 2-player line-based fighting games. This one used to be owned by AEG. It has since gone to Level 99 Games, and they are producing the original game as well as 2 expansions and a Kickstarter promo pack. So if you have the original game, they have a pledge level for you. Basically, they have a 9, and like I said, this is a 2-player head-to-head, a longer rogue game. I don't know what differentiates this one. Honestly, I haven't had a chance to look into this one that heavily in terms of what makes this one different than Knockdown, different than Twisted Fables. They do have it available in Tabletopia, so you can try it out. That's the good news. In terms of the pledge levels, we have $9, which will give you their Kickstarter exclusive promotional set of cards. For $29, you get the promo card collection plus the Sakura Arms base box. For $59, an additional $30, you get so this one is a different pledge, it's not an additional. So it's $59 will get you boxes 2 and 3. This is primarily catered to those who have box 1 from AEG. The art and everything won't match exactly, but they will have basically the same content. For $89, another $30, you get all 3. You get the box 1, box 2, box 3, and the promo cards. As far as should you back it, should you not, sadly, this one is mostly a no for me, which means what I do recommend doing is, and I feel bad because they gave you this option and it feels like taking advantage, but practically speaking, just buy the $9 promo card collection on its own. If you want the Kickstarter exclusive stuff, buy the $9 promo card, because the expansions, they're all the main boxes, they're selling them at $29 on a $35 MSRP, and you also have to pay shipping. So it's not a drastic difference in price, but you will get this cheaper down the road. If you're buying those in retail, that $90 will cost you $75 with free shipping. So it doesn't seem practically worth it, assuming you care about the price difference. That being said, if you like this game, if you want it sooner, if you want to support Level 99 Games, if you want to get the promo card, you're not talking about a significant difference either, because the promo card collection is included in those pledge levels. Even if you went all in at $90, plus you factor in shipping, you're talking about paying like an extra $10 to get everything sooner. So I would say if you like the game, it's worth jumping in on. If you don't like the game, it's up to you. Feel free to jump in on it, take a risk, pledge it, or try it on Tabletopia and see if it's for you. Next up, we have Hoop Godz. So Hoop Godz is one that I thought I would say don't back this at all, honestly, but I was wrong. And the reason for that is basically they just have they have such a limited. And by the way, to be clear, when I say don't back at all, I mean from the value stance. But basically, Hoop Godz is from the same people who brought you Rap Godz, and plus they're doing a second printing. And in terms of when I say second printing, what I mean by that is Rap Godz has been very hard to get your hands on. This is a game that, while expensive, Rap Godz it's fairly expensive compared to what you can get otherwise. It's just not available. It's not available on the secondhand market. It's not available to buy. Hoop Godz may run into that same issue. So even though this game will cost you roughly $35 to get the game plus shipping, and the last game, Rap Godz as well, was also cheaper on Kickstarter. So this is one where I don't know if you'll be able to sell it for what you paid for it on the secondhand market, but if you want this game, it's one that I do recommend checking it out, because they have had very low availability, except for just buying it for like $60. Rap Godz is available for like $60 online, but it's not particularly cheaper than that. And so that's basically Hoop Godz or Rap Godz or whatnot. Take a look into it. I don't know much about the game itself. I know they have the Soul's Juice mechanic. I didn't look into the game itself because it doesn't overly appeal to me. I mean, I know that they have Rap Godz, and to be clear, I'm glad this exists in the space. There's a whole lot of controversy about this game initially, and then doing the whole Black Lives Movement matter, this whole thing blew up, because it's offering a theme to people who don't have that theme in board games. So it is nice. I like seeing that availability to people who are interested in something different, and both Rap Godz and Hoop Godz offer something different to the market. And actually, Board Games in a Minute, I'm speaking of Sarah Shaw, which was 45 minutes ago, but Board Games in a Minute did a little thing on Hoop Godz. So if you want to take a minute-long look at what Hoop Godz is like, watch that video. And from there we go to Core Space Firstborn. This is a expansion plus a standalone starter set featuring new stuff for Core Space. Core Space is it's a Kickstarter that came out already, and it is one that kind of combines the aspects of a miniature game and a board game together. For me, it means I'm already out. I don't want to use rulers and measure things and treat it like I don't like Warhammer. It's not my thing. This game, though, is rated an 8.9 on Board Game Geek, which means you should pay attention. As far as whether it holds its value, so this is, like I said, a skirmish game with terrain and all that stuff. This is basically giving you the starter set plus access to who knows what kind of stuff you want to buy for the game. As far as holding its value, the initial game did hold its value. The last Kickstarter, that base pledge plus whatever, did hold its value fairly well in the secondhand market, so I think this is a safe back. I don't know the level of add-ons that are on the table here, so I'm not commenting on every single add-on here, but the general system as a whole has done fairly well, both in the the ratings, in terms of what it seems to be offering, and in terms of being a safe back and holding its value. And that basically is core space. Whew. From there we have Neo-Morphosis Infestation. Neo-Morphosis Infestation is one that I am almost certainly backing, even though I have no idea if I'm actually going to like it or not. But basically, this was actually, I was very interested in this game back in January when this canceled. Unfortunately, they canceled it back in January when it wasn't doing as well as they would have liked. That was before I was really doing these videos on a dedicated, whatever. So I was interested in the game, I was back in the game, and then they canceled it, and I was sad because I was intrigued by the game. Since then, I am more skeptical just because there's always a million things to back. And in terms of this company, Darkgate Games, what they have done is they've done Vampire Hunters, which has done fairly well. They have 7.6 on Board Game Geek, has done a good job holding its value. They've done the other game, what was the other game? I can't remember the name of it. They have 6 created over here. They have their other game was over here, Dark Rituals. Dark Rituals, which is the other game, which has not yet delivered though, but it looks amazing. I actually want that game far more than Neo-Morphosis. But Neo-Morphosis overall, I watched the Undead Vikings review of it. This is basically going to be, akin to a Zombicide style game, but with differences. You have the map tiles, you have the miniatures, you have the heroes. Some of the things that are different though is there's a lot of puzzles being presented here. The equipment looks a lot of fun. Zombicide's equipment too. But my favorite thing is the idea that these aliens can mutate. What you have is this aspect that throughout the game, the aliens will mutate, getting different abilities and changing, which makes a whole different spin on how you actually have to handle things. The miniatures, based on what you're seeing here, which are not actual miniatures obviously, look good without being amazing. I'm a little concerned, are they going to be too cartoony, not cartoony enough? Are they trying to balance or bridge different styles, not outcommitting to either? I don't really know, and we will have to see in terms of that. So overall, I am interested in it. As far as will it hold its value, almost certainly yes, at least initially. For $135, gets you both the base game and the expansion, plus shipping as well, and it's the sheer amount of content you get for that, comparing to their other games. Like Vampire Hunters has done a pretty good job holding its value. Not Command level holding its value, not Mythic level holding its value, but it does hold its value. In terms of the other one that I forgot already, Dark Rituals, whatever, we don't know yet. And in terms of this one, just the sheer amount of content you're offering for the price, I think it'll do fine holding its value. Keep in mind that some of their games, the last one is 2 years late with a pandemic, so give them whatever. But this might be delayed, but I imagine you're getting a good game out of it at a good price with lots of Kickstarter exclusive extras, and Neo-Morphosis overall will be one that I believe will hold its value just fine. And lots of fun things. They have behemoths, they have expansions, they have add-ons, they have a whole bunch of fun stuff, and I just need to figure out what I actually want to get for this game. Next up, we have Sons of Faeriell. This is a tough one. So Sons of Faeriell is one that I like Tabula Games. I like they have Barbarians the Invasion, which I am super interested in. I have Barbarians Invasion. I like Barbarians Invasion a lot. They also had, what's the other one they had? They had Mysthia, which I really want to get my hands on. I've heard good things about it compared to Blood Rage in certain degrees. But both Mysthia and Barbarians Invasion, the one thing that they do have that counts against them, and keep in mind, I have Barbarians Invasion in my collection, I still like it, but they are a little bit more fiddly in what they actually bring to the table. Good games, but a little more fiddly than I ideally like, not as streamlined or as simple as I would like. And Sons of Faeriell seems to be continuing that trend to a degree. This is a game that is a semi-co-op game, which has me cringing from the get-go. I hate semi-co-op. It scares me off. It does work sometimes. Townsfolk Tussle is a notable example. But historically, I get a little worried about that style of game. So basically, Sons of Faeriell is one that I am intrigued by. And watch the reviews. They have a lot of stuff. You're basically managing these masks, and you have one person who might be the betrayer who's hurting the land, other people who are helping it. So there could be like a betrayer aspect to the game. But that's basically what's going on there. I will say a quote that had me scared off, and I don't like testimonials that are like this. From the Dice Tower, I really like the miniatures with the mask and just the message that it conveys as you try to save this land. That is a horrific testimonial. Like, the best thing you could say about this game is I like the miniatures with the masks. Don't show that on the page then. Don't that does not inspire confidence at all. Like, I genuinely have to watch like 2 or 3 videos to even give myself a chance, because that is a non-inspiring testimonial that on the page. It's the miniatures with the masks. It's not cool. In any case, from the pledge levels, we have $65 for Sons of Faeriell, which gives you the main game itself with lots of content, lots of extras. They have some stretch goals and other stuff, Kickstarter exclusive stuff as well. Then for the all-in, they have $106 for the all-in, which is going to give you the giant bundle boxes. Let's show you that over here. So over here we have the giant bundle box. We have stretch goals, exclusives, a double layer player boards, which is awesome. I love those. Exclusives, more stuff. Look at this. Look, alternative Waybit poses. So over here they have in their buys over here, they're bundles. So for the add-on bundles, you get the all-in add-on bundle, which is basically giving you roughly like 40 euro worth of stuff for about 35 euros. So it gives you a 5 euro discount for getting everything. Those everything are Guardian miniatures to replace the standees or whatever they had. The 5th player tribe, which can be useful if it plays well with 5 players, and then Darnog the Spider Mini and rule set. So if you want all of those, and you want them in a nice box that will match your other box in terms of fitting on the shelf like this, you can see over here, then basically buy that for $106. Will it hold its value or not? So Tabula Games is one that falls into the category of they do all right. So if you look at their past games, their past games have generally done fine at holding their value. You might lose on shipping, but overall they give you enough Kickstarter exclusive stuff that you're not able to get it at retail, so you're fine there. In terms of if it's not a game for you and you want to resell it, Tabula Games generally have done fine. I would recommend very strongly with this one, especially because of that Dice Tower testimonial plus the fiddliness plus the semi-co-op. I would recommend that if you are on the fence, get it and then play it right away and sell it right away, because you might lose something on that, but you probably won't lose as much than if you waited and find out that it's not a good game. Like I said, not all of Tabula Games have done well. Mysthia and Barbarians Invasion generally have been, but as usual, the sooner you get rid of it compared to when you got it, the better it will be for you. Next up, we have Grand Austria Hotel, and at 58 minutes in, I doubt that I'm going to hit that exactly 1 hour thing. Sarah Shaw, you win. I can't do it, unfortunately. Oh well, I tried. Anyways, wait, maybe I can go back and edit out a segment. Does it count if I go back and just edit out a segment? Can I do that? Is that allowed? Will anyone notice? We'll find out. Anyways, Grand Austria Hotel, Let's Waltz, expansion and deluxe upgrade. So the Grand Austria Hotel is basically one that I pushed off from last week. Basically, this is one that I am fascinated to see on Kickstarter. Supposedly, it sounds like from reading the campaign, it sounds like they always planned on having it on Kickstarter, which as opposed to just pandemic Kickstarter. But anyways, this is offering you an expansion and deluxified version of the game. And so we're going to break that down to two things. Now, before you get into that, Grand Austria Hotel is an excellent Eurogame, that I played multiple times and eventually got rid of just because while it was an excellent Eurogame, it wasn't, I felt I preferred playing Castles of Burgundy basically every time, meaning I just felt it was, and they're not 100% comparable. For me, I prefer Castles of Burgundy and would rather play that, but I liked the game was presenting enough so that I'm interested in whether the expansion would change that for me. So I'm interested, but also not backing it for now. I'll keep an eye down the road. We'll see how that plays out. As far as whether you should back this, what's going on, so it's giving you this expansion, it's giving you these modules to this game, and it's also giving you a deluxified version. Now, the deluxified version is only going to be on Kickstarter, which means we're going to divide this up into the expansion on its own plus the deluxified version. So the expansion on its own will come with stretch goals. If you go through this, it's going to be stretch goals. Most of these do not say Kickstarter exclusive, but every once in a while you'll see one that says, hey look, Kickstarter exclusive. Agatha Christie, that's awesome. So there are a few Kickstarter exclusives that you will get if you're just backing the expansion. That being said, the cost now compared to the cost of retail, especially once you factor in shipping, I do not think it will hold its value for the limited few extra cards or tiles you are getting. I could be wrong, it depends how well liked and how much people want to seek it out, but I don't think it's the best option to back the expansion alone on Kickstarter, unless of course you want to get it right away and or support the creator, in which case bundle that into your whole decision as to what you want to do. As far as the deluxe edition, that one I think is a much safer back. The safer back. The deluxe edition is not going to be available anywhere else. So if you want to get all these 20 shaped wooden markers, wooden resources, a new illustrated cards, overlay action boards, all these extra fun things for the deluxified edition, I think that will do a better job holding its value because it's not available anywhere else. That is usually the way it works. Anything that is much more whatever. The question is, when you can get the basic game on, wherever, your local online game store for almost half the price, or I don't know if it'll be half the price, but for a significant discount from the Kickstarter, then I don't know if people are paying that extra chunk to get a few things. But versus the entire Deluxified edition compared to any TMG Deluxified game or any Deluxified game, any Everdell Deluxe compared to Everdell Regular, or what's that other company? Elf Creek Games as well, Deluxified versus non. Deluxified versions of popular games generally hold their value. Sometimes you have to make a Deluxified edition of a game that you hope is popular, but Grand Austria Hotel we know is popular, so that's even safer there. So overall, if you want the Deluxe edition, I think it's a fairly safe back. Oh, Gamegenic. Look at that, I missed that. Gamegenic. This is, I believe, the same company that Come On started playing around with, and I don't know much about this stuff other than the fact that it was overpriced in the Come On Kickstarter. In any case, that is Grand Austria Hotel. Overall, the expansion on its own, I'd recommend waiting for retail. The full deluxe, everything, go ahead and jump in on this. And I believe we have one more. Nope, whoops, I skipped that. Okay, so we have 2 things left. That was the last one. Grand Austria Hotel was the last one, which means we're over by 2 minutes, but I still have stuff to cover, so whatever. So in terms of next week, notable things coming next week. Speaking of Elf Creek games, we are going to have Atlantis Rising Monstrosities coming to Kickstarter November 3rd. This is an expansion for Atlantis Rising, a fairly excellent game, one I ultimately did not keep, but I did like it a lot. I played it a bunch. I did a whole video comparison with Epidemic. I did like it. I would never turn down a game. I'm kind of torn and want to get it back, especially because of the expansion, but we'll see how that plays out. But basically, this is coming to Kickstarter November 3rd, so keep an eye. I will obviously be covering it either in a dedicated video or in a roundup, likely in a roundup. Then again, it's a light week next week, so who knows what I end up covering. And secondly, from there, next week, we have Star Scrappers Orbital. Star Scrappers Orbital, the reason it's notable is because it's by Jacob Faeriell. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But basically, the designer of Terraforming Mars, this is his first game since Terraforming Mars, or at least the first game that I know about. This is being published by Hexy Studio, and it is a card-based game with a space theme and cool art, and I don't know what's going on in this game, and I am prepared to be let down by this game because, well, when one of my favorite games ever has another game by the same designer, the default assumption is that I should be let down, because now, if I'm not let down, well, then that's already better. But I'm hoping it's amazing, don't get me wrong. I love Terraforming Mars, so I'm assuming that this will be not as good, but it may still be as good to actually keep it, or maybe it's even better. Hopefully it's better, I have no clue. But keep an eye on this one coming to Kickstarter next week, because, well, this one will probably do well, because Terraforming Mars does well. And that is basically everything. To be clear, these are not the only 2 Kickstarter coming next week. For this final segment I'll be doing at the end of every video, I'm just talking about things that I think are likely to have more gravitas, more oomph when they hit Kickstarter. There are a bunch of other stuff coming the week after. This week is a very light week because, well, probably because election, nobody wants to launch a whole bunch of Kickstarters November 3rd. And so that's basically it. But until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Feedback welcome, please. Any feedback about what I can and should cut or not or whatever. If you like these at an hour long, I'm happy to do it. This is my Sunday activity. Research a million Kickstarters and do a video. So I'm happy to do it if you guys are enjoying it. If you're kind of, exhausted with how long these are getting and you want me to cut sections, feedback is welcome because feedback's welcome. Until next time, have a good one. Yeah, that was pretty long, really. Okay. So, this is the part of the video where we see... Oh, hey, what's this? Ooh, fun. Okay. This is the part of the video, which you may be used to by now, where every Monday I throw in a little bonus thing at the end, because why wouldn't I pick the longest freaking video of the week to throw on an extra 5 minutes at the end? And by the way, Sarah, this does not count against my prediction, okay? I got to 1 hour and 3. It's not bad, all things considered, but this extra part is not counting against my hour prediction, just to be clear. But my extra thing for the week is... I actually didn't know what I was going to do this week. I didn't have anything planned, and I didn't want to do another bad joke after last week. You got to give those time. Maybe I would sing. Maybe I would have sang, if not for the fact that I got sent something. So basically, Hero Quest over here decided to send me something for free. They shot me this free thing here, the little gift, whatever. I assume I had no contact with them. Basically, I put out a video defending them because I like taking the contrary opinion. I like arguing the other side of an argument, and I don't know. I like seeing things from the other side. And in general, when there's a popular opinion, I will usually start looking at the other side of the unpopular opinion to see what I can think through. To be frank, it's something I should do more often than I do, particularly when it comes to people. When it comes to people, like judging other people favorably, it's a huge thing. If you make an instinctive assumption that someone is out to screw you, someone did something, and I actually have something in mind, I'm not getting into it, but there's a thing that happened like the past few weeks in terms of this space or whatever that I was a little bit turned off by, but I was assuming the worst, and now I'm gonna get people asking me what's going on. Forget that. Point is, people, I should be taking the contrary view with people and always assuming the best. Never attribute to malice that which you can attribute to stupidity, which is a long tangent to the fact that Hero Quest, probably because of the fact that I did a video defending them, said, hey, we like this guy. He's pretty cool. And so they sent me a free gift, which was nice of them. Thanks, Hasbro. I'm cool with this. If you want to send me the full bigger game, I'm happy to do a review or coverage or something, but I'll take what I can get. And this one is, so I have a pretty good idea what's in here because I watched Board Game Coffee do an unboxing of this one, so sadly the surprise is a little missing. But the quest is calling. Friends,
We sent you some artifacts to help you prepare for future quests, for the realm has great need for people like you who keep the fires of adventure lit. Take these treasures as token of gratitude. A dwarven hero, a hand-painted dice box, and a set of dice from Mentor.
So that's my thing here. And this does look pretty cool. We got, okay, let me pull this out over here. Ugh. So we see this little box here. This is, watch Board Game Coffee's unboxing of this, because, well, I'll tell you this much, it's significantly better than mine. Ugh. Okay. Ugh. Okay, I'm just going to take this out here, because this is not working the way I want it to. Hey, look at that. If we punch it out the bottom, it makes more sense. So, this is our little Hero Quest box gift thingy here, which looks cool. I think it's fun. It's a little tray. Again, I know it's here because I saw Board Game Coffee's unboxing. It ruined the surprise. Why did I subscribe to that guy? And inside, we have some stuff. We have a little adorable... Oh, almost focused. Yeah. I can't get it to focus. I'm not... Oh, just there. There we go. Nope. I can't try them. Every time I pull my hand away, that's when it starts to focus. But basically, it's a little dwarven painted hero that will have to go somewhere in my backgrounds. Some dice, which is cool. But more importantly, the box. I think the box is the cool part. I'm going to dump that little insert there. So we have some dice, which I assume are Hero Quest dice. I wouldn't know because I've never played Hero Quest. Again, Hasbro, if you want to send me another free gift with Hero Quest, I will happily take that off your hands. Yeah, I'll do a review for you. Do whatever you want, you know. Not guaranteeing, you know, positive coverage because that's not the way I work, but I will happily guarantee a review. Past that, this is what I got. Cool little thing at the end of the video. It's just, I got it. Figured I'd do an unboxing from them. And that's basically it. 1 hour and 8 minutes. Jeez, I need a break. Only used a few sips of water. Until next time, guys. Thanks so much for being here. I have fun with these. I'll see you next time.